Call this Griggs County Commissioner meeting to order at 2:30 on July 10th, 2020. Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. John.
Here.
Dale.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
Troy's here. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
The only thing that I changed from what I sent last night is I did add shredding to the agenda. I just have a quick thing to share with you guys there.
Added what?
Shredding?
Shredding.
Is there anything in the packet for it?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved by Dale to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, we like to review the minutes from the June 19th meeting. As well as the equalization meeting, I guess, is included in here.
Page 2, where it's open the floor to bills without me making the motion and seconding it, so. Probably didn't happen that way. Dictatorship.
Nearly had to have been Sean that seconded it.
Unless he made the motion.
Right? Jill, do you have a packet?
I don't. There's thank you.
Might be easier to follow along. Any other corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the June 19th meeting minutes as corrected.
Been moved by Dale to approve the June 19th meeting minutes as corrected. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting, motion passes. Next, we'll move on to review the bills. Do you have additions, Sam?
Don't have any
Okay.
this time.
What did Hoyt's do in that shop up there? I can't believe we spent $6,600 on wiring that building.
That's what he quoted last fall.
Really? I must have missed it.
200 amp service, lights, overhead door, outlets. Miss anything? Oh, there's an outdoor, isn't there a light over the
Like over the outside.
outside?
Wow.
All of them conduit, and
Yeah, I know, but
But it was a 200 amp service, I believe, too.
I think so. But it,
And then of course had to dig it in.
right.
I think from what I glanced at it, that it was comparable to what.
Seemed like a lot.
For that, yeah. It was, because it wasn't just a bare minimum, it's set up for some future expansion. Is there a welder hookup in there?
I don't think there's the outlet there, but it's capable.
Right, or was there one in the bottom of the fuse box?
Because I haven't even looked at it.
No, I thought there was, maybe not. Anyway,
Probably nippled one right onto the entrance panel.
yeah, that's what I thought.
I did that in my shop.
Deer credit, Wayne, is that for the tractor?
Yes.
Okay. Page 6, Heartland Consulting Group. I was just closing out our agreement.
on the Finley Farmers, the bill for weed chemical, Wayne, was that, do we alternate that? Or do we just always get it from them?
We just been getting it from,
You know, we got, I think at least 3 companies that, that sell chemical in the county. Maybe we should try to alternate that a little bit if you can. I think they'll deliver it to you, it doesn't like you gotta go get it, so. Did you get done spraying the ditches?
Yeah, that should close it all out for that Heartland.
Okay.
Any questions on the bills?
Move to approve the vouchers as presented.
It's been moved by Sean to approve the vouchers as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Monthly office reports.
Move to approve the monthly office reports as presented.
Been moved by Sean to approve the monthly office reports. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is NDSU Extension Agent applicant.
Hi.
Hi there.
Do I need to be on a microphone or?
No, thank you.
Okay,
I don't think so.
just double checking that I'm in the right space.
I think we're good.
Okay. My name is Leslie Lubenow. I'm the new East District Director. I replaced Kim Rollison from NDSU Extension.
Okay.
So I will be the supervisor for this position. And I'm here to, be a liaison to this group as well.
Sure. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Do you live up in Grand Forks then? Or-
No, I work in Langdon.
Oh,
and
wow.
live over by Cavalier.
Okay.
So small town, we have a ranch there, me and my husband, and I've been in Extension for about 15 years. I started my career in Findlay for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I moved up to Pembina County, worked there. And my last position I had before I took this position was area agronomist. So Greg Endress, you guys know Greg over in Carrington? His position is the same as mine. So my job was to regionally give out agronomic advice and do research for NDSU.
Okay.
So today I have two items with this A&R position that I'd like to talk to you about. The first one is the temp help that we have. Troy, I saw you and Dr. Lardy had signed a memorandum of understanding to
Correct.
hire Maxine
Right.
about that. That's going well. Achievement days have changed dates because of the pandemic. She will be under budget for that. At this point, at the end of June, she had 70 hours done, and we had gone up to 340 hours. in
I see.
agreement.
I hadn't heard anything about Achievement Days. When did it get moved to?
It is mostly virtual. She has given a date range between the 17th of July and the 22nd of July.
I see.
A lot of the 4-Hers will be doing videos or submitting photos online and perhaps doing Zoom interviews to achieve their achievement days. The 4-H leaders, they've been really positive about her. They say they really like her. So I feel like, we're getting things done with her. She's a retired agent from the Langdon area who lives by Stump Lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're going to have her stay on until about August 14th to kind of finish up after achievement days, and then the memorandum of understanding will be, sunsetted at that time.
Okay.
Just kind of give you a FYI, because that'll be impacting this budget, but it'll be coming under budget. Okay. So now I'm here to talk to you about the A&R position. I made a proposal up for you all, so we could all follow along together of what NDSU was thinking, and that way if there's questions too, we can talk about them and we can have a frame of reference that's just outside of just talking into the air here. So I have a candidate who was interviewed. Sean was very nice enough to represent the county commission on that, and Sean and my committee, we interviewed one candidate. We found that person to be acceptable candidate. This candidate he would be so good for you guys. He's an excellent person. He has a PhD in weed science. He was the former sugar beet weed scientist here at NDSU for 5 years as a state specialist. He also worked for Ohio State for 13 years as a state specialist in weed science. After that, he has 1 year of private industry experience here in North Dakota, and he has 5 years of county experience in Auglaize County in Ohio. My highlights for this person to come in is, one, he has North Dakota experience. I've been hearing in previous discussions that you guys that you want somebody that knows what's going on in North Dakota. He does have that experience in his background, and he is very smart as well, that he can pick up things very well In his interview, he called 2 farmers in this county. He called 3 or 4 extension agents around to understand what are the needs for this county, and he did an excellent presentation. He has 4-H and FFA experience. His position in Auglaize County is he's an assistant in the 4-H program there. And some of the programs that he has worked with farmers with was, the recent Farm Bill. He worked with the, I'm just going to call them the Corona dollars that are coming out from FSA, that people have been able to take advantage of, including my own family. The soil health, he has done some work with the SED there, and he also does a lot of work with agronomy as well. He grew up on a hog and dairy farm, and the personal references and the professional references we got for him were excellent. In terms of agronomy knowledge, we asked him to rank 1 to 5. One person gave him a 10, one person gave 5++. You would be getting a person here that is extremely experienced and would be someone that the farmers could rely on, and also the crop consultants when those weird things come up. Because they do come up. I had 2 calls this week from my old job about canola looking funny or this or that as well. But he's got the knowledge to do that. And when I look back at, your former agents you've had, they've been brand spanking new from college. This guy has got the professionalism and the background to just give you the answers. So what we're proposing, what NDSU wants to go in with for an salary is $57,000 a year. I have some comparable salaries on the front of this chart. These are other people that we've hired from NDSU that have PhDs. And you can see the hierarchy there, their experience, and you can see where this candidate's experience far exceeds that experience. So the ones that we've hired in the past are at the 54, 55. So we're going to come in, we'd like to come in with $57,000 for this position. I feel like that's fair. At the research center, we just lost a person to the agronomy position in Osnabrück, town of 300 people, $60,000 is what he's making. So I feel like, overall, this is a fairly fair salary to give this person based on what we've been giving in the past and what's in the private sector. At a salary of $57,000, this is $48,000 above the minimum salary that was advertised. I'm asking Griggs County to give me another $4,500 to match to get to this point. The total cost to NDSU extension that we will be paying is $56,185. And with this salary match, it's not quite 1-to-1, it's actually more because we have to pay for more benefits for that person at $57,000. Basically with this position at $57,000, for every $1 you give me, I'm going to be giving $2 back. On the back side of this piece of paper is what's in the proposed budget, which will be coming up later here. But this is based, I believe, on Megan Biggs' past salary at Griggs County share of $23,200. We do need to get that up to at least $24,000 because of the minimum salary for a master's person is $48,000. So we have to get there for this position. If we increase the salary up to $4,500, in Griggs County, when I looked at stats, we have about 440-some thousand agriculture acres. I'm basically asking you for 1 penny per acre of an investment on a guy that has 22 years of experience and can run that 4-H program and can also really help the farms in this neck of the woods. On the bottom here, just to get into the nitty-gritties, I do have a chart available so just kind of understand it a little bit better. And I'm open for questions.
What are the minimum requirements? Is the master's degree the minimum requirement?
No, it is a preferred qualification.
Okay.
A minimum degree would be a bachelor's degree.
That's what I thought. And what's the minimum salary then with a bachelor's degree?
$43,000.
Okay. Where is he living now? What's his age? When does he plan to come to Griggs County if hired?
Okay.
And what's the reason for him leaving his current position?
Yeah, that's a very common question. I can't do the age because of legal stuff at NDSU. So I can't say the age, but you can see how many years of experience he has. I have 15 years of experience with a master's, so you can do the math where you think his age is. I'm sorry, Commissioner Whitfield, I almost forgot part of your question, but for why he wants to come here, he has a son that is working in North Dakota. And he also is revealed to the committee that he's getting remarried. And it sounds like, I would guess on that going back to North Dakota, where he enjoyed the jobs in the past, is a good move for him.
He's not I thought he was working for NDSU now.
No, he was a weed specialist in about, I think he left in about 2012. He left.
I see.
He's in Ohio right now.
Oh.
So he's coming back, but he's got a son that stayed in North Dakota. His family were members of the Kindred 4-H club. So he was a 4-H leader in the past. And he must have really good memories of North Dakota here. And you know, we're more spread out here. It's nice to live in a rural town. Ohio's a lot more population dense. Maybe he's craving that. We can't see.
Wants to live in the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you guys have some beautiful places around here, Cheyenne Valley, and I mean, there's a lot of good things here that I can see why we be appealing. And I live in a small town too. I do because I love it. I love living in a small town.
So when you say $4,500 above the minimum salary, you're talking the minimum salary of $48,000, not the minimum salary
Yes.
of $43,000.
Right, because with the master's.
So in essence, then it's $9,500 above the minimum salary.
Okay, well, but we have to go by qualifications. The
No,
way
no.
this position was
Simple question, the
advertised.
minimum salary then would be $9,500 above the minimum salary, not barring qualification because we asked for a minimum salary person. So
The way it was
a little misleading in your $4,500.
The way it was advertised is there was two minimum values on the job announcement. One at $43,000 for the bachelor's degree. Also on the job advertisement, there was a minimum for a master's degree of $48,000. And that is the number that we have to be at the lowest because he has a PhD.
For this person?
Yes.
Okay, then let's just get it
For
straight.
this, not for the position,
Okay.
but, you know, I can't control who applies for the position, right?
Right.
So we can have people with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, and higher that can apply and be eligible for these things.
Understood.
There also was a qualification of 3 years minimum experience on this job position. Typically, those minimums that we're visiting about, those are for like fresh-faced people who are coming out of college. We typically give, we have like a rough salary, of course it depends on a lot of things, but $1,500 per year of experience. And you guys are requiring 3 years of minimum experience.
Sure.
So, like, you know, I have new hires that are in other counties that with nothing, you know, they're at the, they start right where at the low because they have no experience, right? They're not what they're worth in this position. But in this case, with 22 years plus of experience, we are asking for more from y'all.
Did Megan had a doctorate too, right?
Masters.
She has a master's degree in animal science,
Okay.
focusing on reproductive health.
I thought she had an advanced.
Yeah, she has a master's degree. I think at the time, you know, we bump up the salary levels through time, what the minimums are.
Sure.
So she was probably hired at a lower salary.
Yeah, I don't remember. I was just
Okay.
thinking out loud, kind of.
I guess, you know, like when I think about this, you know, there's opportunity cost if you don't come in high with him, you know, come in at what we're asking. You have an opportunity for a person who can do an excellent job here. And they're not going to be seeking as many help or resources. They can get going right off the ground and help the farmers. They don't have to, I got to think about that. They can really increase the reputation of the extension office in this county.
Right, but shouldn't we have choices? Shouldn't we have more than one applicant to choose from?
That's all in it. applied,
That's
John.
all that,
I know, but
that's all that applies.
time and.
There was a choice of, is he suitable or not suitable?
Mhm.
There's always that choice. We don't have to take like a person who just, they're not gonna fit well in extension. We don't have to do that. But this person does fit well in extension. Like, he's got this, he's done it. He's made it his life.
Yeah, that's fine. I see we're gonna pay $9,500 more than the minimum, and that's not acceptable to me.
Just
Why
to
there's
kind
more than one
frame
of
it,
us.
like,
Yep, there is.
But I frame it like, the thing is though, even if, the frame is, would you give somebody who takes this position with a master's degree, with 3 years of experience? What do you,
We each
you
get to-
can't,
we
you
each
can't
get to
take
frame
them out
it.
of the pool, you can't
We
take-
each get to frame it in our own frame. Now, that's yours, and I just stated mine, so
Yeah.
if we disagree, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, or, does this make sense, what I'm proposing? Is it readable? So basically, my ask today is, would you come up to 57,000 wage and give me the extra 4,500 past the minimum to support an agent in this county? Based on the quality of this person.
9,500 past the minimum.
No.
Correct? The
Minimum for a
intermediate would be
master's
45,
degree,
intermediate would be 4,500.
Maybe we have to go for 48 because of his PhD, because it's advertised that way. We're gonna go around. Let's go move on, right?
The
I
position.
think we all know the math.
Yeah.
What are your wishes, fellas?
Did some surrounding counties with PhDs started at 55?
Yes, you have a bordering county that has a PhD in it that started at 55. For a county agent position.
Is this a demand by the applicant, or is this a request by Indicia?
This is a request for cooperation with you guys.
I was just wondering.
No, it's not, I haven't even told him he's done. I
Okay.
haven't called him at all.
I see.
He knows nothing.
Okay.
Because I want to know what you guys want to do before I go any further.
Yep. That's
But I
fair.
need to know the top
Yep.
of what I can offer him. That people want extension based on that mill vote, and I don't, a penny an acre. We can make it 2 pennies if you want, John. For the whole lot.
No, the people spoke in the vote. No, we're gonna try to find a county agent. There's no question.
Honestly, I feel like he'd be one of the best ones in the East that I have.
No, I don't think there's any doubt we're gonna find a county agent, that's what we're supposed to do, but I don't think we have to jump at the first one that applies. And I'm not so sure that experience is necessarily a virtue here when we're trying to deal with the 4-H issue mostly here.
Yeah,
And maybe the parents and maybe the 4-H clubs would like to mold the agent to their satisfaction rather than vice versa. So I don't know exactly if the experience is what's needed
I did
here.
have 2 4-H member, 4-H leaders on the committee,
Mhm.
and they voted acceptable for him.
Mhm. Again, I don't know if we have to take the first one that applies, and I would like to have some choices, but that's just me.
trying to think if we get somebody with this experience that citizens would be more likely to utilize them as an ag producer than if we end up with somebody who comes fresh out of school. And I don't know how much usage there is from ag producers with agronomy in every private business.
He's gonna be, I know you guys have problems with like Roundup Ready resistant kochia, and it sounds like Roundup Ready ragweed too, potentially resistance issues. Like he's gonna be, you know, there's only so many chemicals out in the market. They're not coming out with any new ones. But he would be able to give advice or recommendations for those people that are stuck. I have the same problem with wild oats up in my county in Langdon. I don't know if you guys have wild oats issues here, but there are no chemicals that can control some of these weeds. But he's got the background, the technical expertise to really help your farmers. You've got small farms in this county. It would be really cheap for people to utilize in one sense.
And he does have a strong background in crop and weed science, so.
Sure does.
I don't know how many hogs and dairy we have in this county anymore, but,
If there's a hog in Griggs County, it's probably feral.
yeah. Same with the milk cow.
But he's lived the life of a livestock man.
Yeah.
She's looking, this lady's looking for a number, you boys.
Well, I'd be willing to split the difference. 57,000 is high, 43 is low. I'd go for 48.
$44 is not the low. What's the low for
48 is what the advertised low is.
For a master's?
For a master's degree minimum.
right?
But for the position, 43, if you don't have a master's degree.
Yeah,
She's saying 48 because of the master's degree, but the absolute low is 43,000, correct? If they have a bachelor's degree.
We do, but we have no candidates that meet
No,
that.
I know that.
But yes, you're
If we had a
correct.
candidate,
Yes, yeah.
43 would be the low. Very good.
we're not
And this is
considering
what you're
another
looking at.
candidate, we're considering this candidate.
Yeah.
Does somebody have a number in mind? Make it a motion if you could.
And you feel that he'll take the position at 57? Is that what you're at?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't, some states pay more.
Yeah.
My initial talks with NDSU is I wanted to put him up to 65, but we have salary, constraints as well.
Okay.
But we thought he's gonna be credible, he's gonna be professional. It would be nice to get somebody here that
Sure.
you guys believe in.
Sure.
I think he could do it.
I don't
Just
know.
think if we combine some counties, we could really hire some good people.
Yeah.
I don't know that we should pay any more than the neighboring county.
55? Okay.
I don't think we should pay over that.
That motion?
What did we budget with the last cost?
23,200. You guys have been watching too much CNN.
So it cost us an extra 5,500. Over budget, that is.
Pretty hard to cut budgets in other departments and say we're trying to hold the line and then raise the budget in this one.
Well, you did have a vote though. I mean, you could back yourself up that way, so, you know, say, well,
I
just a month ago, we said this.
back myself up with my conscience. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we offer the individual 55,000.
It's been moved by Mark that we offer county agent applicant 55,000. Is there a second to the motion? Is it seconded by Dale? Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Nay.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Budget.
So department heads are here, if you guys just wanna jump to the department heads' budgets that are here, and that way then we can come back to the others. However, I think
That's fine with me. A is for auditor, if we're gonna do it in alphabetical order.
let's just get past me if that's
Okay.
okay, because I'll be here till the end. I guess the first thing, if you guys wanna do, go into your packet, I do have that more information on the, health insurance that we kinda discussed at the last meeting, offering full family. The top one would be if you did offer the full family, those would be the, amounts that we would need to budget. They are projecting a 20% increase, starting in July of next year, so I just did the 20% increase. It could be lower, could be higher, but, so that's the top one. On the bottom is, if you guys just continue to.
20% increase in July.
It'll be start July, yeah. Then on the bottom is if you guys just continue to offer the single policy, and then if they do have a family, you guys pay the single policy towards the family, so it comes out to 41.36%.
We don't do that now.
Excuse me?
We do that now.
Yep, yep,
So the second option is what we're doing right now.
yep, correct. I do ask you if we could,
Why did it come to why 41.36%?
I just did the percentage, because you guys do a, single policy.
Oh, I see, you divided into 1773, I got it.
Yep, yep. Counties around us do different percents. We are the lowest, Barnes is at 85, Steele's at 75, Nelson's 100%, Wells 92%, Foster 70, Eddie 65, and you guys are at 41.37. Another thing is that social services that is down the hall, they are getting the full family from Nelson County, because that's the host county, so I just ask that you would offer the full family insurance.
So then how do we compensate the people that don't have a family policy?
The way that we're kind of thinking about it is it's a benefit, you either use it or you don't. Two of the employees that work here right now, they don't receive the health insurance policy that the county offers us that right now, and we don't give them the money for it.
I think that's normal. I mean, the bank I work at offers a single policy. You can use it or you don't have to, but if you don't get paid if you don't. The bigger issue here is, to me anyway, there aren't a high percentage of the county employees right now that would need a family policy, but there could be just as easy as not. So the liability that we would assume if we offered that is a bigger deal than the number shown here. So. Yes?
I do have an employee who receives a family policy, and if with the prediction of the 20%, it would result in her basically owing the county because of the increase, which is something to consider.
I don't follow that. Don't they work?
So she's a forfeit, so, do you have the numbers for? So right now, basically, every 2 weeks, her paycheck is less than $300 because she has a family policy. So if that increase happens again with, if it does go, if particularly the high end of 20%, it could result in no paycheck.
And we would only pay 4/5 of her single policy, because she's only 4/5, so we would only pay 4/5 of that. So then she covers 1/5 of the single policy plus the family portion of it. And with the cost of living increases that we have received throughout the years, and then the increase of the health insurance through the years, she's not keeping up with it.
I think Sam had calculated since 2015, we've only received a 4.63 cost of living increase for the last 5 years with insurance. It's at this rate, it's difficult to, I see that it would be difficult to keep some employees that needs that family insurance.
Who's our insurance through?
Sanford.
Any PERS, and that's Sanford.
Do we have the option of going anyplace else, or
No.
we're stuck with any purse?
If we leave any PERS, they won't let us back in.
It is going to be rebid next year for the next biennium, so we're not exactly sure who we're gonna get. It's gonna be Blue Cross and Blue Shield or Sanford, because they're, any PERS is rebidding it again.
We had Blue Cross and Blue Shield when I first started, and then Sanford came in really low.
So that family's gonna go up to 21, 28? Or maybe?
She used the increase in his projections, I believe. Correct, Sam?
Say that again, sir.
The 1773.60 is today, or that's in the future?
That's today, yeah. So then I just took the 6 months and then I times that by the 20% and then added that, that's how I got that.
6 months, why 6 months?
They do it in
Middle of
July.
They always do it in the middle of the year.
It makes it really hard for budgeting purposes, don't know.
So without the increase, the added premium would be $29,000 was what we're talking about. Countywide. And if you add another 20% onto that, it should be another $6,000, so you're talking $35,000, roughly.
I don't think we can do more.
I move we stay with our current healthcare policy.
I'll second
Been
that.
moved by Dale that we retain the current healthcare policy for 2021 is our second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by John. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. I think healthcare's so out of our control. I would rather do something with salaries than do that, because that, we can,
Can't commit to something that could cost 20% more every other year for eternity.
well, these healthcare costs just have to come in under control sometime. I mean, the insurance costs, I should say.
Okay, so if you want to continue on. The district clerk.
Kelly?
Oh, or you already, we already did a bunch of these, evidently, for budgets. Oh. So what we just record.
B8, right? B8?
So one thing, just a note with this, she was outside of the general fund the last 2 years, this one has been, and when Harold has been doing the audit, we found that it has created more confusion than anything. So I do ask that you put her back into the general fund.
Speaking of audit, did Harold do our audit yet?
We recommend.
Sure he is. Which year?
18 probably.
I'm on 18, so I'm out.
So how are we supposed to do the budget when we don't know what we ended up with last year? Are we just using your
We're using my numbers.
numbers?
Yep. That's what you guys did last year, and then at the end, we showed you the audit, and you guys went from there. We made some changes with, the budgets that came in under budget.
I'd suggest that we call Harold in and discipline him, but we do that every year and it doesn't help.
He likes it, John. He misses you.
I can't imagine that, but it takes all kinds, I don't know. All right, well, that's.
So, how come we moved it out of the general just because it's a state-funded position? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of makes sense to leave it there then, doesn't it?
We moved it out because the amount that the state kicked in
Change.
contributed changed, so we basically treated it like an in and out account in that respect. Because we were basing the salary on what the state was contributing, so that's why we moved it out of there. And I don't see any reason why it can't stay where it was at. I think it more resembles a special fund because the majority of the funding comes from outside of the general fund. So I think it more resembles a special fund than a general fund account.
Well, Harold didn't say anything at the audit, did he?
He came in and was kind of showing us that the revenue was coming into the general fund and not into the special fund, so then now that special fund is under budgeted because all of the expenses are coming out of there, and it's just kind of.
But isn't that just a problem with the way we receive the revenue? Shouldn't the revenue have been reported into the special fund? Yeah. So it's an accounting problem.
And then it's with, the payroll expenses too. It was half, and so then at the end of the year, we just took what you guys budgeted for that budget and then transferred that into the general fund. With all the different, like retirement and different things like that, it's too confusing to kind of try and make it so that it's this percent of her, because it's not 50% out of district court, it's
43, it's something goofy
yeah,
number.
it's something different, so it just kind of it was very confusing.
I guess it doesn't bother me as long as we don't levy for it. I mean, that's the problem.
And all my month-end reports that I get from them, it shows negatives on anything, so I know from my purposes, it's kind of hard to track some of. I mean, there's not a whole lot of line items that I have, but they all show negative, so it's just, I know on my end, when I get those reports, it's confusing.
No, I meant like this spreadsheet, if you put it in the general fund, as long as we make sure that the bottom line budgetary figure isn't levied for when half of it's gonna be funded by the state. It's just a logistics problem on one side of this thing or the other.
Right.
Seems like it could be solved in a special fund if the general fund would just contribute the amount for salaries that is owed as a line item into the special fund. Because then it would be exactly what's owed, and the general fund would have a line item that says just reimbursement or something to that extent, and it would put it back into the special fund, and then it would balance.
Yeah, as
No
long as-
different than we do with the taxes we collect for the townships or the different entities.
Right.
They have a negative balance until we fund them.
We do that. So that 2021 number is the state number, right, Kelly?
Correct.
That 2264, okay.
Yep, and that is the 6 months at the current rate of our contract. And then that increased the remainder 6 months of the year.
Okay.
And then the line items below that, those are the same as, those numbers are changed, $30 for the married license, the dues, and office supplies, those are all the same.
So are we gonna tentatively approve these budgets?
Can.
Because we have to, we can't see what the total levy amount is till we tentatively approve this and let Sam put a number in the final allowance.
Right.
And then she'll be able to run it through, and then we'll get to look at the overall levy and compare the overall levy to last year's overall levy to see where
Then
we
we can make
stand.
adjustments if we
Then
need to.
then we could make adjustments after that, but unless we put a number in, is that correct, Sam? Unless we put a
Correct.
number into the final allowance, we can't do that.
Correct, yep, yep.
So this number doesn't have to be set in stone, but it has to be a starting point.
Was that a motion?
No, I'm just, I mean, on each one of these, we need to do that. We can make it, we
Sure.
can make changes right now and put a number in, but just keep in mind that number might not be the final number,
Yeah.
because we need to see where the overall levy amount is. So I'd make a motion that the district court budget be tentatively approved.
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Sean to tentatively approve the district court budget. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Might as well go to the recorder. B12.
Well, we're not the auditor? No.
Skip over the auditor,
I already had a line through that $3,000 office furniture.
why did you? Go to the recorder's budget?
The
Do
treasurer,
you wanna go to the treasurer's budget sheet?
doesn't matter. Treasurers,
The treasurer's
is that next?
Yep.
You going to the treasurer now?
That's
I
next.
just-
I just thought you'd get Kelly done so we could cut her loose.
Recorder is B12.
Just seemed like it made sense to.
The only change in that is we did the, whatever, the COLA increase, and then the material supplies and services, those are the same as previous years. No change anything there.
So the salary went down for the recorder?
Well, I was gonna ask, Sam put the salary in for me, because, so is that salary going to be different?
So when I moved her into the general fund, I just did, half and half, because if you go into the, special revenue, or like when she was in the outside, it wasn't 50-50. So that's where I was saying it's really confusing, because because she makes what me and Connie make, but it's not quite 50/50.
Yeah, what you had wanted previous is the amount that the contract, you wanted the total, that amount to be on the bottom of the clerk's budget.
Yes.
So now going back to that is incorrect then,
Correct.
if you're going to stay
In the general fund.
So then the clerk is not correct then.
Right.
Because then you have to redo those numbers because you had taken out.
Because then I have a spreadsheet where I kind of like trial and error her salary to make it so that that bottom number comes out to what the contract will cover.
Because you had taken out
I did FICA retirement, all the benefits, and then the expenses on the budget to make that bottom line come out to what the contract covers for 20. If you look at last year's, with the,
Oh, we don't have last year's in the district court.
Yeah, we have the actual expenditures, 25,905.60.
so if you go to C11.
But so do you use all the FICA and all those come directly out of the general fund, correct? The county share, and you just use the reimbursement from the clerk of court. It doesn't, there's no FICA or any other costs involved in that?
No, I have that in here, like where the clerk of court's budget covers those costs at a percent.
Okay, so then it is a pretty easy matter to just to add all those together and get one big lump number, then divide that 23,000 or the 22,000, whatever the amount the clerk of court contributes into the overall number to get the percentage. And then their numbers will come out correctly. You don't have to trial and error. You can see exactly how much of the money the court contributes to the overall funding, and that will give you a percentage number.
So you don't want like the percentage of the FICA retirement and health insurance?
No, it will do that. See, once you have that percentage, then you can use that percentage to figure the overall, how much of that $23,000 is being used to pay the overall FICA number. It probably won't do it on the spreadsheet, but you can do it manually pretty easy.
Because then what I did at the end of 19 is whatever you guys had budgeted for the health, retirement, and FICA, I then transferred those funds into the general fund to cover what the general fund carried her.
Right. But I mean, there's an overall number for the recorder, salary, and all costs associated with that salary.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
what you need to start with.
And that's what we usually have for the bottom number when it was outside of the general fund. But the way that I have the budget now is I did 50-50 her salary. 50% of it is clerk of court, 50% of it is recorder.
Yeah.
Because right now she's getting what I get, so then the contract only covers so much, so then the recorder's budget is higher.
Yeah, but it's still a percentage. You don't have to do 50.
Right, if
You
the
can figure
contract
the
covers
exact-
45%, you take the whole time, because it's
Right.
45%,
Correct.
you get it each individual.
Correct. So that just needs to be adjusted then, correct?
Yeah. that's why
The
salary
22
budget went down.
Since 2264.85 is tentatively the general fund's portion of the recorder's salary, is that correct?
I don't think so. Now I'd have to go back and look at my.
Okay.
I'd have to redo that. I don't think that's correct.
Tentatively?
It's higher than that.
Tentatively.
We can say tentatively.
Okay.
I don't think it's right either.
No, I don't either. But I'm quite sure we don't have time to fix it right now. Okay.
Then I would move we tentatively approve the recorder's budget.
It's been moved by Sean to tentatively approve the recorder's budget. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
And then it's, GPF.
It's what?
DPF, which is Kelly's next one.
Okay.
C21.
On that one, I increased the revenue, the estimated revenue, because we're working on our digitizing project and we are selling the data and the images to the abstract company. So that I did increase. Otherwise, did you just request the amount on the bottom? The requested amount I did keep the same, it's not on this sheet though. It's not on this sheet.
What are you
Do you
did?
have anything that I requested on
No.
What are you digitizing?
We have all those 95,000 documents that were input into.
Oh, they're already digitized. You're
Yeah,
in.
digitized, but,
You're indexing.
We're putting all the data in there, yep.
So you're updating Endrin, or
Yep, every week we have older documents.
so you're getting back further and further.
Yes,
Okay.
and at the end of the month that I'm selling them, right now, any document images that we have, the abstract company purchased them, so now she's purchasing all those other ones, so we have more income coming in with that.
How come they don't just pay $25 a month to Endrin?
Well, I think she is a member of NN, but
Okay.
it's also, completes their records on their end, it makes it easier. something like that.
It doesn't
So
seem
it's
like.
50
Oh, go ahead.
It's 50 cents a document and 10 cents an image,
Okay.
so it's,
It doesn't seem like all the counties are doing it very aggressively.
it's expensive. The only way we were able to do it is it was roped into this project, otherwise, I think the total cost was $43,000, and, for the smaller counties, it's difficult to be able to afford that. A lot of counties are getting small chunks at a time. So that is one of the things that I'm going to be purchasing is, during the COVID and having to work from home, the one thing that I discovered that was difficult for us to access is, our plats are not there because our scanner is only legal size scanner. So we have these plats and these index fields that we don't have imaged, and Red Willow was just replanted, so we don't have images of those out on Endrin. So I'm looking at right now purchasing a 36-inch scanner, which would then allow us to digitize all of our plats. I think we have close to 100 of them, and all of the index books. So should something happen again, we have a lot of people that request copies of our plats. I don't even charge them because the quality is so small because they've been shrunk down. It's hard to even read them. So it'd be nice to have those images up there and then too, and have them completed. So I think the scanner is, with everything, is probably about $4,000, which is on the lower end. The higher end is $23,000. So that is. I just kept that, all the numbers the same as what I requested in 2020. I think I will be purchasing that this year, so I don't have.
Oh, we already. Okay.
I've got a quote for it, so I'm hoping not to use that for next year, but I just wanted to have it budgeted just in the event something
That they didn't have.
Okay.
So the numbers there, I requested for 2021 should be the same as 2022, or sorry, 2020.
Yeah, they're exactly the same.
Move we tentatively approve the document preservation budget.
Been moved by Sean that we tentatively approve the document preservation budget. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Kelly? Treasurer?
I make a motion, we approve the treasurer's budget as presented.
Tentatively.
Tentatively. Talk. Tentatively. Okay.
Been moved by John that we tentatively approve the treasurer's budget. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. You gotta do the water board too?
If you want to do it now, I can do that.
I didn't know if you got roped into that or if them guys were gonna. Huh?
Tom said he wasn't coming
That's all right.
here. Because they didn't change anything from last year.
Oh,
They left their budget the same as last year. They do have some excess funds right now, but there's new projects starting, and so we can talk about cutting the budget and reducing it, but I think they'll wait one more year and see what happens and then try and cut one. So right now, it's just the 48.2 is their request for the year.
Where's this at? E.
and the key says E1.
Don't know. I know it's not right.
Well, the water board will get reimbursed for like TB04 now when that one finally gets done, right? So there's gonna be some funds there, so.
That's what they wanted to see, how that plays out, especially with another project starting and a third project possibly, so.
Oh, wow.
So they just wanted to wait one more year before they had anything.
Okay. Any questions on the water management budget?
Move to approve tentatively the water management budget.
Been moved by Sean to tentatively approve the water management budget. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Connie.
State's attorney.
Jamie?
Which one would you guys like, the city attorney or the emergency manager? I actually didn't do anything of the emergency manager budget, that was done before we started, we took over Monday. So I don't think anything changed from last year.
I didn't change anything on my, except for that.
So that's same from last year, I guess. We're probably gonna have some travel and some
Training.
expenses because we have to take some ES classes.
Sure.
Um,
Bachelor of Science?
Legal term.
no, not a bachelor's, unless you guys wanna give me another. We have to have some emergency management ICS classes they're called. Other than that, I guess I can let you guys know that EMPD grant that paid for part of that salary prior to like 2017, 18, I think they let the grant go. That period, that grant writing period goes July 1st, I think it was, so.
Okay.
Spoke with Joe Lees from the state, he said the best thing to do would just try to be to get into it next year. So we're gonna go without that grant this year and hope to get into it next year.
So, and we weren't getting any grant to help with the salary either, correct?
That's that EMPD grant.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what I was talking about, so we'll have to try for that this year. There are other grants, but I can talk to you guys after we have a bunch of stuff about that. There's other stuff I'd like to talk to you guys about anyway.
Okay.
State's attorney, I actually asked for a 3% increase in salary instead of cost of living, because I'd forgotten about that. The state's attorney salary itself at 1.6% would change to $47,006.77. And I was just figuring out the other one. The other one would be $32,290. I apologize, I forgot about the cost of the increases. Everything else stayed the same. So it's just a 1.6 increase in salaries, with the final amounts of that.
Okay.
If we tentatively approve the state's attorney's.
Been moved by Sean that we tentatively approve the state's attorney and the emergency manager budget. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
One other thing I should tell you about the DES officer salary, Jennifer and I are splitting it at 50-50. She's doing a lot of administrative work with it. So we just decided to split that salary, so.
Okay.
Travis had an emergency call, so he won't be able to attend this meeting. So if you want to just go past his.
I think we're at the tax director now, aren't we?
Say that again?
Aren't we at the tax director now?
Well, I was just thinking to keep going so that we get everybody out of here and then we can go back to the
Oh.
ones that the department heads are here.
Okay. So,
And then we'll be at sheriff's.
Sheriff? Wes?
I cut, the prisoner transfer equipment, I did cut it off previously, but, we have to use that, line item for a while, other than, some masks and some clothes and stuff. Publishing equipment, or publishing and printing, I, got $200 out there, and from how much fuel we used the last couple of years, and I did see that fuel's creeping up a little bit, but still pretty low. I brought that down from $17,000 to $14,000. Other than that, everything else stayed the same.
Do these SUVs get better mileage than the pickups?
Oh, yeah.
I kinda wondered.
I don't know exactly, I haven't looked to see what she's averaging, but I would assume it would be way better than what was in that, old Ram.
So overall, Wes, it looks like a reduction in your budget
Yep.
for last year. Thank you. Excellent.
And then the patrol vehicle that, we are gonna budget, every 2 years, that's in the general fund, the patrol vehicle is $100,000.
Sure.
I think that was raised $5,000.
Yeah, the first time we did it, we did 20, and then the second year we did it, we went to 30, so I just did 25. So in the 2 years it'd be 50, but it's not gonna be that much depending on what the vehicle comes in. I plan on building the exact same vehicle as what we had bought before. So the price will come down on the camera system because we have the equipment. So it's not, we're not gonna spend the whole 50, it's just for the
Do you think you'll need one next year?
We're at.
155 on that Ford?
Yeah, I think the Ford's getting used pretty good.
Well, you put 25,000 miles a year on them roughly, right?
Yeah, depending on the year. it is.
Something like that?
The plan was just to get into rotation so that, we didn't end up down the road having to buy more, getting into bonds.
Right. And I'm sure the technology of all the stuff that gets put in them is changing too.
Yeah, and when we got that car, I was
What page is it on?
You what?
extremely jealous of that.
Oh.
that feeling.
We're on B8, 19.
You know, I talked to Amber about it. I can't believe it, but all the electronics seem to be working and right off the bat.
Okay. Any other questions for Wes? Jamie said people seem to be behaving during the pandemic or something. Can't remember what he said.
Both in Spurs.
Oh,
Hotter the weather, the worse it is.
There's some pretty stupid activity this weekend, but.
what's that?
Pretty stupid activity this weekend, but,
Last weekend? Oh, really?
Stuff has picked up again a little bit, but
Oh.
those 2 months where people were stuck at home, it actually wasn't so bad.
I thought we'd have more domestics and maybe a suicide or so, but we didn't, we had more domestics in winter than we did in the coronavirus, and we didn't have any major.
But it didn't seem like people around here didn't stay home anyway. I went to work every day. I mean,
Most people here. And I talked to my friends in other states and everything, and they asked, and I said, well, here it's almost normal. We're not.
just sometimes it's good to be in the wilderness. Social distancing is just natural.
I'll make a motion we tentatively approve the sheriff's budget.
Second.
Been moved by Mark, seconded by Sean, that we tentatively approve the sheriff's budget. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Wes.
So now you'll be on the road. C7. You.
Well, I didn't change too much in the road. I did put in 25,000 for engineering. The last budget didn't have anything for engineering. We ended up having to take engineering or something else. I budgeted 25,000 in engineering. I increased utilities by 1,000, shop expense utilities. I increased gravel by 20,000 because I don't think we're gonna get much put up this year because of the weather conditions and everything, and Robertsons are trying to put up stuff for themselves and for Carl and other obligations they have, so I increased that. I don't know what we'll be spending out of the 2020 gravel, but for budgeting purposes, we just left it the same. Signs they increased by 1,000. Supplies were reduced by 5,000. radio increased by up to 2,500. But that may not happen because of the CERN statewide interoperability radio network isn't probably going to be into effect for another couple of years. Could be. And I do not get the grants, that is emergency manager, but Nancy Paintner has been dealing with Daniel Donnellan from the North Dakota State Radio, and they will get a $1,500 reimbursement for each radio through the state.
And Jamie sent me an email, mentioned that
Yeah.
he can do that as the,
I saw that.
right.
It said that I know we're going to handle the grants, but it's not that. So, that could be reduced. Not miscellaneous, I left the same, miscellaneous. Reserve, I don't know exactly how that works. And I left 5,000 in for building repairs. And put 10,000 in for building, Bedford building to complete it if we so choose to insulate it and stuff. There is some money left over from this building fund, so I propose to, this is probably not budgeting, but to build a better little room insulated for the operator. And I would like to be able to put in bathroom and washroom facilities in case you have to wash your eyes out or something, you have to have water available. Right now, we're grandfathered into the old building.
That's in the current budget we're operating under?
Yeah. There is some money left over in the current building funds, I believe.
But I mean, that's not this budget we're looking at here, that's the budget
Well, I
we're
put
operating.
10,000 in there, but
Right, but that's the but I mean, as far as,
You don't need to put it in there if it's already in this year.
if it's spent,
I'm
and
just questioning it for next year. 10,000.
Why don't you just request that you, why don't you just request that you use it this year and not put it in next year's budget? That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, is there excess dollars in the current budget year to do the project you're talking about?
According to the printout, there is.
Right, of course, we're only halfway through the year.
Right. But
Right.
for the Bedford building,
Okay.
there's still.
How much is available of the balance we budgeted for the building?
Pardon?
How much is left from the building fund? We put that in a special account, didn't
But I saw it, 22,000.
Left over? That seems high.
Sam?
I think that was in the commissioner proceedings today after that. I think there was the balance.
Up in New Bedford, right?
The Benford building. We put money aside last year and budgeted some for this year.
Correct.
We have $35,273.48 left in that fund.
35,000?
That can't be right.
You guys started out with 61,907.34. You used 26,633.86 with a balance of 35,273.48.
No, the building was paid out more than $23,000.
The building was
Evidently,
$40,000.
what came out of another
Didn't
account
we
somewhere.
prepay some though?
Yeah, we prepaid some.
We bought a bunch
previously.
of particle board because
Yeah.
it was cheap last
But I
year.
mean, the bid in a building was $60-some thousand, correct? Lynn? Yeah, and that's all been paid to date, so evidently we've got it into some other.
You might want to dig around in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what I have for a balance. I went through everything.
Yeah, I've seen that.
After we paid, like we had spent $57,479.04.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah,
And then there was subtracted from 61,907.34. Leaves $4,428.40. 30. And then there is a $5,000 building repairs line item in the 2021. So with those two,
2020,
9,420.
in the 2020 budget?
Yeah,
Okay,
2020.
now I'm with you.
Okay, so if you're gonna do it, that should be spent out of the 2020 budget. It shouldn't be tried to carry, because we can't carry over into the 21.
Yeah, but I wanted concrete in the floors, so.
Yeah, well, then,
$9,000 isn't enough.
Well, we got this much concrete already around the whole outside.
gotta start, Wayne, it's a sidewalk. So the other question I have, Wayne, how much gravel do we have in the pile yet? It would be nice to reduce this. Right now, we have $23,000 over and above what it was last year. I see we can take the $10,000 Binford building out of there because we're gonna do it this year. So now we're just looking at $13,000 to balance this thing. How much gravel is in the pile? Because we're gonna buy $120,000 worth of gravel. How much do we have in the pile that we've already paid for?
In the pile at Binford, I'd say we have about 15,000 yards left probably.
So at $8, we got $120,000 of gravel there.
And that was $4.50.
Oh, $4, okay, so we've got 60,000, and we have some out,
We've got some at the Camel Pit.
yep,
And we haven't used anything out of there. We're gonna start on Monday.
okay.
So that was $5 and something yards for that.
How much?
$5.50.
And how many yards?
And there's probably 20,000, I think.
Okay, so we've got $100,000 there, so could we reduce the gravel budget here by $13,000 to make this thing balance?
Yeah.
Do away with 13,000 in the gravel budget, do away with the 10 on the Binford building, because we're gonna spend it this year, and then your budget will balance.
Yep.
Thank you.
What did you do, John?
Remove the $10,000 from.
Binford building, and then lower the gravel to 107,000?
No, lower the gravel by 13,000
Yeah, it'd be
to 107.
That's what I said.
Okay, I thought you said by 107. I guess I should have known better. Wayne didn't stand up yelling, so.
107.
No, yeah, to 107, yeah, not by 107.
Just replace that 120 to, yep,
Yeah. Okay.
very good.
I'll move we tentatively approve the road budget with the reduction of 13,000 in gravel and elimination of 10,000 for the building.
I have one question.
Yes.
Wayne, the $850,000 in the reserve, that's the balance carried over from, that is supposedly going to be carried over, budgeted from 2020, correct?
Yeah.
We've talked before, it's troublesome with that money there because it interferes with the levy, and we've been instructed basically by the voters to levy the full amount.
Yeah.
If depending on how you read that. Would it be better to take that $850,000 and put it over into a special fund that would just sit by itself and it would uncomplicate this whole thing drastically?
Yes.
And what did we used to call that fund? Before the state mandated we put it into one.
Well,
Was it
that's
FAR?
the Federal aid fund or
Yeah.
whatever, but you know, that's
It was
limited to the federal aid, the roads is what you could use it on. Now you can use it on
anything.
non-federal aid or,
Yeah.
or whatever you wish.
Should we label it Special Projects Fund
Yeah.
and move it out of this, the 850,000? I assume that was your number you came with.
Mm-hmm.
And this will make it easier if, I'm sure our accountant will be here next week. But when they'll adjust this, it'll be a lot easier to adjust that number then, because it won't mix up the whole budget. It'll just adjust that special fund
So you want me to move that reserve over here?
into the Special Projects Road Fund.
Okay.
And then it will.
Take it out of the levy calculation.
Huh?
Take it out of the levy calculation.
It'll take it out of the levy calculation. Then it will just carry over every year. We won't have to worry about it being in the levy calculation, because we keep having to raise that number or lower that number depending on how we want to deal with the levy. It'll make it a lot easier.
But then that's gonna lower that levy,
We just robbed.
so we're not gonna be levying 30
Yeah.
mils.
It'll raise, it'll,
We're gonna levy the 30 mils.
we're gonna levy 30 mils because now it's gonna lower the overall amount, but we're still gonna have to come up with the money.
It won't show that balance at the end of the budget,
Right.
because it's not gonna be there. So you'll have all those expenses, you'll need to levy for those
We'll
to
need to
cover
levy for
them.
the expenses. 'cause
So
we
you're
won't
gonna
have-
up the expense line on that to make it so that we levy the 30 mils on that.
No, because you won't be using that $850,000 as your carryover in the road budget. It'll be gone. So you'll back it all the way up to 2018 to remove it.
Oh, gotcha.
So it won't be there. That's been the problem, because we've been putting it, that came from the state and from the Senate and House bill money, and it got doubled up in there, and it kept causing problems.
Used to
So
be
you'll have to take it back to 18 to remove it.
That was FAR, right?
But we're gonna call it special
Special projects?
Special Projects Road Department.
Fine.
Should be an acronym for that.
Well, see, the problem I had was, you take your mill levy of 30 mils times 20,000, we're just rounded off. So
Yeah.
the budget is
Yep.
a lot greater than that. I mean, you get the 335,000 from highway distribution, and 100,000 maybe from the townships.
Right, so we were having to artificially inflate that reserve in order to allow for the maximum levy.
Just how do we cover the rest of that?
Yeah, well, that's how we were doing it.
Right.
But when she backs us out back to 2018, then that won't be there anymore, then it should work. Or will
Motion on the
work.
table, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean? Troy votes aye, motion carries.
Can we do my 911 for now? 911, page 12, it's pretty much the same, except the state, coming up in July 2021, we're gonna increase.
Oh, C13.
$1.39 per line. Or $1.36 per line,
They're raising it?
raising it, and we signed that agreement already.
Yeah, I remember.
From 89 cents to $1.36, I think it was. So then in July, they increased the amount that we have to pay out to state radio. So basically, everything is the same except an increase in state radio phone line fees. Revenue will be pretty much the same, phone lines aren't gonna change that much.
Any questions on the 911? It's C12, not C13 on the key.
And 12A.
It got messed up when I moved Kelly out because it was protected, so I couldn't change anything. I'm like, just go with it.
We don't dare unprotect that for fear of a
meltdown. You just have to deal with the paper.
If that thing's unprotected, no one gets near that computer. Right?
Right.
Make a motion, we tentatively approve the 911 coordinator.
Second.
budget.
Been moved by Mark, seconded by Sean, that we tentatively approve the 911 coordinator budget. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Can we just talk about the weed really quick when Wayne's here? If you look at the weed budget, C29. I talked to Wayne about the chemical and how much he thought that we would need for that line, and he thought that we should double it this year for the 20,000, because in the past years, they had such a huge excess of chemicals down there, so they were using all of that, and now that's run out, so now they're having to purchase chemicals.
Shouldn't that be in the road budget?
So, whose responsibility is to spray the ditches when all we have is an easement, not a right of way? Because I know on the townships, it's the landowner's responsibility.
Yeah, but we got all the toys.
Yeah, we got all the toys.
A lot of that stuff doesn't get done if it's up to the farmer. I mean, it'd be easy
Yeah.
for farmers to swing their broom out there when they mow the lawn.
Except they're all spraying Roundup every day.
Yeah.
And their side ditches wash and all that. And so,
It'd be nice to have a ditches full of pigweed.
yeah. But when we mow places that haven't been mowed in the fall, we charge the landowner.
Charge it to the landowner.
It's true.
Yeah, you guys, all you have to do is make, regulation.
That'd be a real popular motion.
Sure would.
There has to be some statutory authority that enforce that, has the county doing it, because, and I can research
I know
it,
there is.
but there has to be some statutory authority because every county does it.
Probably.
Yeah. And this one, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut unless there's a gun to my head somewhere.
I move we tentatively approve the
Weed control budget. Been moved by Mark, seconded by Sean to tentatively approve the weed control budget. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Wayne.
You can go get started on the bathrooms now.
It's time for Griggs.
Like 200. Court.
So we'll go to, Human Services, C16.
I make a motion, we take a 5-minute break. Evidently, that's what Mark thought too.
It's been moved by John that we take a 5-minute recess. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Dale. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Pardon? Oh.
Just press the record button.
call the meeting back to order. Mary?
So, you guys all know that I'm in a little different situation than the rest of the departments here at the county. The state has been funding our direct costs for the past 4 years. And so they asked that the counties mail out of the county general fund to cover some of the indirect costs. Those indirect costs, phone, postage. Postage includes the envelopes, the return labels, anything that deals with postage. IT, paper, there's a whole list of them. I only pulled out the ones that we have paid historically in the past. So I looked at my historical spending, and what I'm asking for is $26,000 to be split between Nelson and Griggs County to meet my indirect costs. In 2018, I prepaid for a bunch of items that didn't show up on my 2019 expense report, and it's catching up with me in 2021. So I'm asking for, like I said, $26,000 to be split between the two counties. I'm asking for a half a mil from each county to meet the indirect costs. I put some notes on the back just to help everybody. We did have a meeting this morning, and I wasn't firing all 8 at that point, but I prepaid for my IT in 2018 through 2020. My estimate for IT in 2021 was $16,000 for IT alone. Postage for Griggs was prepaid and didn't show up in my 2019 and 2020 expenses. And same with my printer. A lot of that was prepaid. So with the 2 vehicles that we have, the one in Nelson and the one in Griggs, it is recommended by North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund that we have our own policy for the 2 vehicles. So with the general liability and auto coverage, it's roughly $4,150 to get 2 vehicles covered under our zone policy.
Maybe.
That's what the guy from North Dakota Insurance Reserve Fund told me when I called him. So some of these, like my IT and my miscellaneous might be a little high. Everything else, when I look back at my postage and everything else, historically, I believe I'm holding steady. That's provided that the cost of postage doesn't go up. So my paper supplies are not my office supplies. My paper supplies are my paper for printing, my ink, anything associated with printing a document.
So we levied $0 last year and the year before.
And the year before.
And the 2 previous years. 4 years there's been.
They've been covering all the indirect costs at the state, but if you look at the century code, it says that they might change their mind. Apparently they did.
So the state wants to be 100% in control of the social services, but they don't want to pay 100% of the costs.
Correct.
I think that's coming, possibly.
I think
they didn't realize how big of a bite they bit off with this redesign, and I think that's part of the whole philosophy. And I know it's not your fault, it's not my fault, I'm stuck in the middle, I understand, but.
Well, 5 years from now, this thing's gonna look a lot different.
2 years from now, I think this is gonna look a lot different.
Well, they were pretty adamant that they wanted complete control of social services. And now they have control of social services, but they want us to contribute now because they can't handle control of social services.
Well, they don't have to.
Well, they're still gonna have control.
Okay. Right, but I mean, shouldn't they be responsible for their budget rather than us?
Well, when you look at it, they pay a significant chunk. They pay salaries, benefits, insurance, they pay all of that. So they say in return for your property tax relief, we pay, say, the law says formally, not now, but you could mill up to 20 mills for social services. So some of those counties that were milling at 20 mills, the response back is, okay, so you're paying a half a mill versus 20 mills. There's your relief.
They took away our 12% that they were contributing, and basically gave us back 8%. So we already took a 4% hit in order for them to take over social services. And that wasn't by accident. They did it on purpose. There was money there. They saw it and they wanted it. So now they've used up that 4%. They said it was an even trade. We'll take social services, but it wasn't an even trade. They took more. They took 4%, 8% over 12, and now they're coming back for more. I don't get it. If they're in charge of the program, why aren't they in charge of the program?
It'll come.
Why? What'll come?
They'll take it over completely.
They have it. They've had it taken over completely.
No, the redesign isn't over in my mind. I mean, there's been no formal announcements or anything, but I think these little zones are going to go away too, and there'll be a state hierarchy instead of having these zonal organizations. I just think there might be 6 regions in the state or 4 or whatever it ends up being, but it's not going to stay like this.
I think what you're experiencing now is when you have, like for us, we made our agreement, we had everything hammered out. We're just coasting along. Some of these other counties that didn't have this agreement, you've got 6 different commissioner boards, 6 different ideas, 6 different ways of doing things. And some of those other counties are really having a battle trying to figure all this out.
Well, we were lucky because you were already here.
Right.
So that made it pretty,
Right.
made it a lot easier.
And, yeah.
We have a different definition of total control. Given the fact that the great citizens of Griggs County weren't levying any money towards this, I classified that state as being in control yet. If we're asked to levy money towards this, then the state certainly isn't in total control, or they have a method of taxing us. But right now, I don't think they do.
Yeah, they do. Because it says in that new law that we will provide the indirect costs.
Yeah.
So.
And I know you and I had a conversation about this on the phone, so I know, we both know what the intent was.
Are we splitting this 26 down the middle, or are we doing it like we did before when we were?
The percentage?
Yeah, percentage.
Since we're all combined, it's difficult because the phone is all one phone bill. So it's difficult to discern who's spending what.
Well, we did it by population, didn't we? Oh, no, that's the Griggs County, Griggs Steel Health.
We did it by county value.
Oh, that's right.
3 different, like caseloads, land mass, and.
Taxable value, I think.
Taxable value.
And the Griggs Nelson Health District does it by population.
I mean, you could basically say you do it by the value of a mill is how it was done.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that takes into account everything. Yeah.
So our share is the 13,000.
Roughly half.
What's a mill worth in Nelson County? I mean, we're splitting hairs if we get that
Damien,
carried away.
so is it 23? I think it's 23.
I think it's 25 or 26.
There's
26, I think.
26, yes.
There's 8 more townships in Nelson County than there is in
I think it's
Griggs
26
County.
and it was 25 last year. It's somewhere over 26 this year.
Okay, and ours is what, 23?
So, I mean, I read the century code, and we're to provide. I thought that's what we're providing indirectly by providing the facility
building.
I mean, if we're going to provide right to the social services, then shouldn't they pay something back towards rent on the building?
But I did. I have.
But I mean, but does it equal? Is it a net sum 0 then? the money that the 13,000 that we're gonna pay out, does it all come back?
So if you remember, was it last year, I asked if I could keep that money, space in lieu of rent versus, and you said no, so I paid you. I believe it was, I think Sandy would have an account of it. 13,000? Something along that line?
So that'll happen this year then too?
Yep, you should get it. So what it is, it's a 3-year average. It's the average of your 3-year countywide cost allocation.
Okay, so,
Clear as mud?
well, no, I got to really keep it simple. So if we pay $13,000 out towards administration of social services in Griggs County, will then Griggs County get a check back equal to that amount? No. Okay.
I believe what you're, and again, you gotta remember that when social services was in that other building, you weren't counted under space in lieu of rent or however that, I don't know that whole formula and I don't wanna know it. So that's where Griggs County was a little bit behind Nelson County with their 3-year average. And it's, I think it's next year that it should start leveling off. But I believe the calculation for Griggs County was about $11,000.
So the, in round numbers, the net cost to Griggs County will be $2,000.
Is that a motion?
No, I'm just trying to make things a little clearer in my mind.
It's very complicated. There's so many layers to this, just when you think you have it figured out, there's a new kick to it. So it is a big piece of legislation.
And I understand that you're caught in the middle and we're caught in the middle. It just seems to me that we have to ask the question so that we don't just willy-nilly abide by what the state says, and pretty soon we're right back to where we were and they're still in control and we're paying all the money.
Well, and again, the state's not in total control. They're saying counties need a voice. So we're not all state employees, we're county employees or zonal employees. But the state pays it's the tail wagging the dog, and I don't really totally understand all of this. But the state pays our salary and benefits,
I know.
and we have to follow what they say, but we're zonal employees. So
It's a voice far off if the century code dictates what we have to do. How do you argue with the law? Not much of a voice. You know?
I agree, but that's the little nugget that they tell us.
I'll move we levy a halfway off for social services.
It's been moved by Sean that we levy $500,000 to social services for their indirect costs. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
No.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Aye. Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Is that in the social services budget or within the general fund?
General, right?
General fund, because I don't have a social service budget. Thank you, guys.
Yep, thanks, Mary. Library, do you have something for us?
What page is that?
E1.
I don't know. Samantha mixed them up.
Mine says E10A.
Schedule E1.
E10A. I agree.
No.
E10 and E10A.
Wow.
I agree.
It's, most of them stayed the same or some were lowered. The collection budget was lowered, business travel budget was lowered. The salaries were raised slightly. Supplies were raised, or not supplies, service fees. We had to raise those because of the way our circulation system is now being used. So the cost for that yearly service fee went up. So without it, we can't circulate the books and items out of the library. Utilities stayed this, actually was lowered a little bit. Where Samantha has miscellaneous, that should say staff training. Down on line 16. That is an addition. That has not been in our budget in the past. Because we are now training by the year end of 2021, I will be retired. So we're in the process of training somebody to take my position.
So that 17,000, or that 1,700 goes into staff training, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have staff training down there with a blank.
Got it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be miscellaneous. So. The library gets 4 mills, and so I had no clue what 4 mills was, but this is.
Up to 4 mills.
That, we need to stay the same or more than we were the past year so that we do not lose our state aid money of about $8,000.
What are your bank balances?
Most of the time we spend what we get in. The only bank balance that we're really carrying over is some from a building fund and stuff. So I don't have my bank balances with me.
$100,000?
No, there's not 100,000 in that fund. Like, yeah. In the building fund, there's about 27,000. But we completely maintain the building and all the stuff inside of it.
Right. Somebody one time told me that you guys had $100,000 in your checking account.
No. If somebody told you that, what happens is, and don't ask me how this ever happened because it was before my time, the tax money that Samantha gives us this year is put into a savings account that we use next year. So I know already exactly how much money on the first of the year I have for spending next. So it makes our, and don't ask me how the preceding librarians ever managed to go for 1 year of putting tax money aside and spending the little bit that they were getting. So that's where if somebody looks at that, they go, oh, well, they have all this money in savings. Actually, it's the tax money that we got this year that we spend next year, and that usually is completely spent then.
I see.
So. And I guess it made them feel good that they knew on the first of the year how much money they had to spend through till the end of the year.
But on the first of the year, then the tax money from the next year comes, so that it's actually, there's, in that scenario, then there's 2 years worth of levy money at the first of the year in the library account, so you're a year ahead each time, correct?
Right, but.
I mean, I have seen the treasurer's report, I haven't seen it right lately, but I have seen it in previous years. And
right
it
now,
appeared to me like there was a balance equal or greater to 1 year's worth of levy in the account.
Right now, in that savings account, we have $77,000. The city and the county's money comes together and it's stored there, so that if this was the end of the year, tomorrow I would know that I had $77,000 $100,000 to pay all the bills with.
Right, and then what are you operating, what money are you using, a different account than for operating right now till the end of the year, correct?
The checking, yeah, we have a checking account that,
And the balance in that right now?
right offhand, John?
Just approximately?
Probably about between $45,000 and $50,000 to finish out our year.
Right.
That has to pay all of our expenses till the end of the year.
Yeah. So in essence, that's what I remember from looking at it before, that it appears like there was 2 years, at the first of the year, there was 2 years worth of revenue, tax revenue in the account, because you were a year ahead.
Right, well, that money gets transferred on the first to the checking account. So the other one is technically on the first is zero until we get our first payment, which is always, I mean, the January, February payments are always the biggest, have always been the biggest payments.
Yeah, not saying it would, that's even in the thinking, but technically, if you never received 1 year's of tax levy, the library would still be solvent.
They would?
Yeah. Okay.
So, but the next year they have zero.
The next year they would get the tax levy and they would have.
Well, they wouldn't have anything to start off on.
Yeah.
Because
they would
this
be.
year it was February before we got our first payment, right?
Right, and well, they would be online with all the rest of the departments, but the library is a different creature, because the library, once they receive the funds, they're not obligated to use those balances to offset future funding. And that's just the technicality of the century code.
Right.
So other departments are obligated to use carryover funds to offset. So if they carry over $50,000, in your case, if you were an entity like the rest of the entities,
right,
you would only, and your budget was $80,000, you would only receive $30,000 this year and use the balance forward. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions?
So what we've done in the past is we have, for the library and a few of the other senior citizens,
Fair
board.
Well, actually, the fair, I think, asked for less than their.
Yeah, we have allocated the maximum mill levy available. So
right.
So yeah, so you'll have to, when that takes place, you'll have to probably maybe reduce your expense.
You'll
reduce your expenses by whatever.
We wrote the budget as what we thought, and until we know what the exact levy is, then the board goes back and adjusts, because they don't actually tell us what our pay increases are going to be till January. We have to wait till then to find out.
They actually don't, you wouldn't even need to adjust your budget, because it's just gonna bump up on the 4 mills.
You do realize
you're gonna get what you're gonna get.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
right.
You
It
do.
needs to be higher, because what you guys put in the budget is exactly what I put in, so and then I put
I know.
the limit.
That's what I meant.
This past
This is a
year.
lot higher than it needs to be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you can leave it that way and it'll be 4 mills.
Yeah, last year we came in just a little slightly lower because the
Yep.
value of the.
Right.
But you do realize that there's a certain amount of the citizens that believe that that balance probably shouldn't be there. I don't know what percentage, but they think that probably should live without having the $100,000 of taxpayer dollars floating around. It could probably be used for something else. I'm not saying I believe that, but there are a certain amount of people that do believe that. And, you know, no one's approached us to have it changed so far, so I guess we operate as we have here.
Well, it'll go to the ballot now every 10 years,
Yes,
correct?
it will.
After the new law took effect?
According to what we got from the state library doesn't fall under that law.
Oh.
Why would they?
I don't know. When Jamie and I went through the law, Jamie kind of came to that same conclusion. That's what he told me.
Oh, I had not heard that.
I don't remember what our conversation was, but I remember what it was.
Okay.
Well,
It doesn't matter today, but.
so is that all you need then?
That's all we need.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
You wanna do Kelly's back, she needed to.
Thought we just did county agent. Oh,
And that was this year's.
oh,
Okay, so next year's.
Now what do you do?
fair. Brian, you're the fair?
Yes.
Well, we should have taken you in alphabetical order. Oh. You should have wore a name tag or something so we knew. I thought you were just here because you wanted to listen to us yap.
Oh, that's you.
Okay.
Fair is C6.
Obviously, with COVID and stuff, the revenues that we were expecting to bring in are not gonna be what we projected for this year. And we are hoping to still put on an event in August, do the ones as best we can. Our revenues will be down for income, building, rent, all that stuff, pretty much any activity down there has been pretty well canceled, except for maybe 3, I think. We are hoping by 2025 to do a remodel in that commercial building. Put in proper bathrooms, because that's the reason we can't use it all year round. Our water is not deep enough. The sewer would freeze, the water would freeze, so that's why we close it up in the winter time and just use it as storage now.
The community building?
The commercial building cannot be open past freeze up.
Oh, really?
So that's why we shut it down and just use it for storage right now. But if we want to make it usable year round for the community, we have to do a pretty big upgrade. That's what we're shooting for by 2025, is having the funds to be able to do that. That includes handicap bathrooms and all that stuff. But our bathrooms are not up to code right now for handicap.
What's the new one?
Fair gets a.
3/4, isn't it?
What?
3/4. 3/4.
3/4, I couldn't remember.
3/4?
Yeah.
0.75, yep.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I guess I'd make a motion again until we approve the 0.75 mill levy for the fair.
Second.
Been moved by John, seconded by Sean to tentatively approve the 0.75 mill levy for the fair. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
County agent.
Okay, I'm back.
Sorry, we should have done you first so you could have got out of here.
Yeah. Nice to know you guys though from listening. Okay, Patty Smith put this budget together and Smith asked me to present it to you. So I know very little in one sense, but this is what I do as background napkin calculations here. It sounds like you guys were asking for a reduction in budget or something. But Patty had cut out $1,000 for part-time help in the operating, $1,000 out of travel. That's if you have a new agent, that might be a little tight, but it'll be. Equipment, she added $100. Supplies, she cut way back to $200. Printing and advertising, she moved up to $1,000. And miscellaneous, she moved down to $200. When I calculate these numbers together, I get a total cut of $2,210. But we have to deal with this salary line for NDSU expense with this proposal.
Right.
I'd like to amend it to $27,775. NDSU is on the July 1st, when raises come fiscal year. This is tentative because this person might not take the position, but that person would be eligible for a raise come July 1st of 2021. We don't know what that's going to be. The state legislature decides that. I put in 2% in that. So we paid 6 months at $55,000 and then 6 months at the $55,000 times, 1.02%. But we don't know. It's a total guess.
Right.
So to amend to, did you get that number, Sam?
Say that one more time.
Okay,
27,775.
And I know if we don't get a successful hire here, that we can visit again about this as a dependency budget.
Right.
To get it more accurate. So when that happens, the cuts that Patty made and the addition of the salary would increase the county agent budget, by my notes, $2,365. Please, you can check my math, because I'll just do it here on the side. And that's, that number's, up from the request that's shown on the sheet.
Do you come to Jackson Hole get any state aid this year?
I get 52,222.68.
For what? The increase?
County agent budget. So we had budgeted 47,647.
No, it was requested.
Oh, that was requested. Sorry.
Which was up from 2020 of $32,032.
So 45.75.
Now look at that salary line though. That salary's indicating a 20.
No, that was, we were trying to find somebody to do it part-time.
Oh, yeah, I took all of that.
So then we budgeted accordingly. Yep.
We tentatively approve the county agent budget.
It's been moved by Sean that we tentatively approve the county agent budget as our second. Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John? Me? Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you for driving all the way down here to visit.
Thank you for everything today, guys.
Yep.
So then Kelly's got the courtroom grant. We forgot to do that one when she was.
Oh, E23.
So next year for the courtroom grant, I had put in 4,000. And that is for a matrix switch for in here to switch between, we have the computer, the podium there. And it's on a different, to use that, it's on a different switch from the ITV, and there's a complicated process. So there's a switch that makes it changing in between those easier. So the matrix switch, and then a monitor for the bench there, where we do ITV hearings, replacement of the camera, so just a smaller one just for that, for the bench. So I think both of them will, they'll come under 4,000, but last year, I think it was last year, I went over a little bit for the grant amount because the price changed for one of the items that I had. I had quotes and so I think the switch is probably around, install and everything, maybe 25 to 3. And it should just become $100 for the monitor, but the state for that grant, and they pay 75% of that grant, so at 4,000, our cost would be 1,031. But I think it would be less than that. But I think it's
One of the things that would relate to me with the courtroom grant is that there's money that's gonna be available for COVID response for setting up courtrooms, because you don't know what the policies are gonna be if COVID is worse or whatever this fall for trials in court. So,
Jamie, it's gonna be over as soon as the election is over.
well, it's probably true. That probably is true.
Well, it's absolutely true.
You're healed. Day after.
Day after, yeah. Anyway,
One
sorry,
of the
go
things-
ahead.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But one of the things that the state, I don't know what the judges are gonna require for the courtroom, but, if something does go longer, but that's one of the things that the Supreme Court had, sent down to the prosecutors, is that there's potential grant money that's gonna be available for COVID response, if that's what the court requires.
I suppose we'll have to wait and see. Like here, having such a large room probably won't have issues.
Well, I have to, that's one thing I have to do next week, is I need to map it out. So there's 6 feet in between everything. We do have a jury trial coming in September. I don't quite exactly know how, it's a 12-person jury, so I don't know quite how I'm going to do that yet. Jurors have to be placed in certain areas, certain positions in the courtroom, so. I mean, we are lucky. I mean, there are some counties where they're having to move court to entirely different buildings because their courtrooms aren't there.
Does anybody come sit in the gallery?
Occasionally.
They do, yeah.
I mean,
depending on
3 people?
Depending on the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
The trial that's coming up in September, I would guess it'd probably be a pretty full courtroom, maybe. It's a pretty big case.
Yeah, and I have to make sure that the people that have to be here are 6 feet apart. If I have one chair open for galley, they tell me that's good enough. It just is what it is.
Oh.
So there normally is a constitutional requirement, or I don't know if it's a constitutional requirement, but a requirement that the courtroom be open to anybody to participate and come and watch. But right now, the court is able to close the courtroom to the public if they're not a party. With a waiver, yeah, with a waiver, so it doesn't make an appealable issue. We actually had a jury trial that was scheduled yesterday in Nelson County, and the person didn't show. So what happened is the jury was there. They brought 40 people in from the jury, and we were going to do jury selection in 2 different stages if we needed to go that far. So they were going to bring 20 people in at a time and go through those first 20 people and make sure that they were spaced properly throughout the courtroom. And then if we needed to go beyond that, then that was going to be yesterday afternoon was the jury selection for the next people.
Which is what we'll have to do, we'll do it in shifts to make sure that we follow the guidelines that we have to follow right now. But we have been doing the hearings, the majority of them have been telephonic or some Zoom. The IVAN system actually, I think I put a grant in for that. I don't know how many years ago we got approved, but something happened and I wasn't able to put it in. Well, we actually got it, I think it was 2 years ago we got it installed. They chose Griggs County, so we got it paid for by the state. So the cost for having that has been relatively, I don't think we actually had a cost. This would probably be the first cost that we've had for that, but it definitely has made this situation a lot easier for us having that.
Seems like if you're gonna have a jury trial, that if people wanna watch it, we should be able to put a screen out in the entryway or whatever, or the hallway, that big foyer, and they can watch it from there, right?
Yeah, and we did that, actually did that in Nelson County for a trial. It was for jury selection. We had people in the courtroom and then we had the community room and we put people down there.
Because then everybody that needs to be in here could social distance or whatever the guidelines are, and you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Right.
People out in the hall can worry about themselves.
Maybe that's something we even have to discuss. I just know that we have to, my understanding, if the public wants to be here, we have to be able to allow them, but as long as I have one seat available, you know, I was told that was enough, but.
Okay. Just we're kind of off the beaten trail here.
It's very complicated, it's this looks like a 10-step thing, and, where I can just have a switch and switch over, so that's what that is.
Okay. I forgot where we were talking about. Got off on a tangent. Yep. Sorry.
And I know James did send you that email about that, so I can look it up, and that's for this week.
I think it's for this year. I think it's money that the Supreme Court made available right away.
And I haven't heard any direction on whether there are not going to be a courtroom grant. I haven't heard you heard anything.
No, the only reason I know is they came from Sandy at the Supreme Court down to Airburst, and Airburst sent an email out just letting us know that anything that we need for COVID for the courtrooms for social distancing
Okay.
at the Supreme Court will.
That's all I got for that.
Will we tentatively approve the courtroom budget?
Second.
Moved by Sean, seconded by Dale to tentatively approve the courtroom grant budget. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, how much longer would you guys like to go? Do you wanna go through my budget or go through all the general fund and then quit, or what are your thoughts?
General fund. Then we have a starting point or an ending point.
Go through the general fund?
Well, yours and the general fund.
Mine.
You have to be. Yours is part of the general fund.
Yep. Just do the expenses and then we can do revenues at another time? If that's okay. So then the first one I have is the county commissioners. Do you guys wanna talk about you guys getting paid this year? Or for next year?
Keep the budget the same.
Move to approve the county commission budget as presented.
Still merit pay, huh?
Paying us nothing, and we might still be overpaid.
I'm sorry. Who moved?
I
Sean moved, Dale seconded.
Yeah.
That we tentatively approve the commission budget for 2021. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carried.
Then the auditor's budget. In there, the one thing that changed is the office furniture. I briefly talked about it at the last meeting, but I would like to get Maddie and myself new desks and like a closet kind of thing. They would be U-shaped desks. Right now, I do have a table that I put a lot of my stuff on. Maddie's using the floor and a little cart. And then the desks that are in our office, they're very, very nice. They would move then to Connie's office to use them. My office and Connie's office were the only two offices that did not receive furniture new furniture when we moved into this building. The other offices had grant funds to do that. So I just ask that you allow us to get new desks, bigger desks. And this is the quote from Mike Peppa.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, yeah, I'm not in favor. I mean, there's desks all over. The old courthouse has, there's desks all over. We don't need to buy new desks.
You been over there?
The old courthouse? I can't get in there now, but I have a pretty good recollection of what's still in there.
Oh.
I'll move we tentatively approve the auditor's budget.
Been moved by Sean that we tentatively approve the auditor's budget. Is there a second? Tentatively. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mark. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
No.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
No.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Smarty. General.
You want to do tax director?
Yeah. Corner.
The tax director, I don't know. Are we advertising continuously? Should we be?
33 weeks at a time, and then we take a break, and then we've done another 3 weeks.
I think we should be, at least on like the
I think-
association websites and that kind of thing,
We're
because
doing that on our county website, it's on there, but not in the papers.
I think in order to keep in good grace with the tax commission, I think we should be.
When I visited with the tax commissioner's office a few times, not him's, but, I asked them if these little counties could just contract for the items that the tax directors need to do. I said, we can't force somebody to do this job. And it's hard to get somebody that is competent to do it. And she did not know the answer. She was gonna check and get back to me, and I have not heard. So it's hard for me to put a budget together for that position. I don't know.
But yeah, we got budgeted just in case.
I suppose. I mean, we're gonna spend money one way or the other. If we have somebody sitting in the courthouse, or if we
Contract, so.
have somebody hired to do it. I mean, either way, we're gonna hire somebody to do it.
But I think it's
So maybe we just budget it, I guess.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just keep it the same.
I'll move we tentatively approve the tax director's budget as presented.
It's been
I'll
moved by Sean, seconded by Mark, to tentatively approve the tax director's budget as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just for information, the county director of tax equalization shall serve at the pleasure of the board of county commissioners and may be employed on a full-time or part-time basis. So we have basic control over whatever we want to do on the budget. And we don't have the powers of conscription. And we don't.
No, but there are people that do this work by contract.
But we have control of how much we spend. We can't be forced to spend money that we think is over and above what the services cost.
Well, it's tentative today, maybe we can come up with some.
Well, I haven't looked into it any further. Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Next one is custodian. Nothing changed there.
The only thing we need to change, Sam, is the custodian didn't request a pay increase, but we made it across the board. That's what we were giving, so we need the requested amount needs to be reflective of the pay increase so that we can actually give a final allowance to it. So Sam did the final allowance, that's reflective of the pay increase.
That
but we
same
need-
number needs to be.
But in the requested number, we need to
Amount
have that
requested
also.
to.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
B
B14.
So the total salaries would be 44,455.60.
Total budget will be $1,000 more than that. Equipment hasn't been added into that yet.
Okay.
Move we tentatively approve the custodian budget at 45,455.61.
Been moved by Sean to approve tentatively approve the custodian's budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
The general expenses. Election will go down, there's not supposed to be, or there's not an election next year unless there's a special one. But we do start having a little bit of training by the end, so. That's why we keep a little bit in there.
I don't know if we need burial in
yeah.
there anymore.
No.
We just talked about that.
I don't
So
think
then all
so.
of these other ones that Mary came with, those will be added into here.
Yes.
Okay.
But I think the state's paying for the burials.
I think they are.
Yeah. I think you can take that out.
Got it.
We just talked about it today at our social services meeting in Macville.
Okay.
Courthouse.
Do you want me to itemize out all of these, like the vehicle maintenance, or do you want me just to put social services expenses as one lump sum?
No, it better be itemized
Itemized
out so
out.
that we can look at it in future times. So the reserve, we don't have anything. Last year we,
Nope, I keep that, right now I'm keeping that out. That's usually what you guys fluctuate at the end when we see what the levy comparison is. Then we see like how much that should be.
well, I mean, it's, yeah, we have done that in the past. We've reduced it to a point, but it seems like we use that more and more, that reserve fund for things that were missed in the budget. So it has to be a fairly high number so that we have something to fall back on. That's what we used to replenish the budgets in the past, or the different.
Right, but we can leave it like it is until we see how the math works here. Or do you just want to put 225,000 in
I'd
there?
like to put 200,000 in there because I think if we start, I don't think that the reserve is the first thing that should be cut. Because it basically funds anything else we miss throughout the whole budget. I do think we can reduce the courthouse and grounds from 35 to probably $20,000. The last time we know what we actually spent was in 2019, and we spent $16,000.
Why are they estimated 2020 so high?
That's what you guys budgeted for.
Oh, that's a budgeted number.
Oh, okay.
So I think we can request in 2021, I think we can request 20,000 real easy and be fine with that. And I think if we put 200,000 in reserve, I think we'll be fine with that. Everything else looks okay. To me, anyway.
And then you flip to the next page, it continues on. So you guys have the 25,000 for the patrol vehicle.
Yeah, travel.
Travel for all departments, and then the indigent.
That's on both of them.
Huh?
Oh, no, it's not. Okay. What's the indigent mean?
That was in the clerk of court's budget, but it wasn't part of the clerk of court. So then when you guys pushed clerk of court on its own, that got put into the general fund, or stayed in the general fund. I'm not really sure what exactly that is, but it was just kind of an expense that was put in the.
Taking care of people that can't take care of themselves.
I
think.
Jamie, you here? Yeah, I think what it's been used for in the past was if someone.
It's an advocates fund.
And got put in, like needed a hotel room or something like that, I believe. Is where that is, when hungry and needed somewhere to stay, I think we took them to the coachman and bought them food. And maybe a bus ticket even.
And I don't think that money's been spent for.
A little bit of it has, $391 in 2019, and I'm sure that's what that was for. So it can stay there. If it gets used, it gets used. If not, it's in the general fund. It just carries over the balance anyway, into the overall general fund, so it can be re-upped. Okay. I make a motion, we tentatively approve the general fund as presented with the changes made.
Second.
It's been moved by John, seconded by Sean to tentatively approve the general budget as amended. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
With these expenses, I have them, correct?
Yes. Well, no, you're gonna budget $500,000, whatever that ends up being. So our contribution to that will be less than Nelson County's because their mill is bigger.
Well, no, wait a minute. We're not gonna budget $500,000. The dollar amount that we budget is gonna equal $500,000.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. So
Same
you're gonna
thing.
have to list the expenses in a dollar value, and then they will equate to whatever the mill is. But it won't be
I'm
$500,000.
not calculating, I'm not doing that backwards.
No, we're budgeting in dollars. So that 13,000 or whatever that number is. You just said it was $500,000 to.
That would be about what it would.
About what it would be.
Yeah.
But we can't do
Yeah,
that.
13,000 is the amount we budgeted.
Right, and then itemize that, how it comes up.
Yep.
Because and it's actually 26,000, it's half of.
So it's 13.
Whatever half of those expenses are,
Okay.
as she laid them out there.
Yep.
Social Security. Is that the next one?
Sorry. Let's see here. Social Security. Those are just populated, once I put the, salary numbers in there, those are,
They're not negotiable.
those are in there. So then information technology, hopefully I can get Travis to come at the next meeting.
Okay.
Do you wanna just skip over that one, or do you wanna?
Well, we're starting to overlap budgets here. We have the county shop internet in there, and we have sheriff's laptops in the information technology. Those should be split off to each individual budget.
We do that, like if somebody's within the general fund, then all their IT stuff goes into the IT budget. This is, like, Travis isn't a department head, he's just helps me figure out how the IT budget should be. So county agents' laptops and all that, that's in their individual budgets, but as far as me, Kelly, Wes, Jamie, all of us that are within the general fund, it comes out of the IT budget. But that, I think it's the fiber lease, and then that county shop,
We're leasing fiber right now?
I know I don't.
He's been trying to get us to do this.
Right, so kill that one and kill the shop internet too.
Well, and are the sheriff's laptops mandatory? I mean, I don't know that.
I guess it would have been nice if Wes would have spoken to that. I don't know if the operating systems are becoming obsolete or what the deal is. I can't say.
I'm not sure on that.
You know, and is the software 24,000? I guess we'll just have to wait on this one and ask them. But as you see, it increased drastically.
And then the last meeting that was, these are new, you can get refurbed ones for like 10 grand less.
Yeah, there was two options. This was the option that he recommended so that we would have the warranty.
But anyway, he's not here, so it doesn't matter.
I can see if he's, Travis or Wes?
Both. Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna have sheriff's laptops on information technology, let's determine what and why.
Let me see if Wes is available.
Well, not now, we gotta wait for
Travis
anyway.
So then the next one is insurance.
And then you had the group health, or the family health
Correct.
insurance number
Yep.
in there, so.
Yep.
I assume you'll adjust that.
I do.
If so, I would tentatively make a motion, we tentatively approve the insurance.
Been moved by John to tentatively approve the insurance budget with the adjustment of the Andy Pers health insurance going from a family to a single. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
Aye.
Troy? Votes aye. Motion carries. Coroner?
That one never changes.
Right, and same with the DES, we could tentatively approve both of them, they haven't changed, correct?
You did do that.
Okay.
There's a motion on the table for that, or a motion to do that.
Okay.
Superintendent of schools, I'd like a raise, please.
Oh, we didn't do the coroner.
Yeah, we did do that.
I make a motion, we approve the coroner's budget tentatively as presented.
Moved by John, seconded by Sean to approve the coroner's budget as presented tentatively. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale? Mark? Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
You guys are through the
General.
Right, no transfers. we can remove the JDA.
Been enough years now.
It's been enough years, that can be removed.
If it's okay with you, you guys are still gonna see it, it's protected, yeah.
Okay. I know the password, I can't, but I'm sworn to secrecy.
No, I know the password. I'm not gonna
In some cultures, messing with that would be the same as thievery, they'd cut off your hands.
Works good right now, just leave it alone.
Yes, we will.
Bridge purchase and disposal.
Oh, shoot, we're not done.
No, we're done with the budget, but.
Bridge purchase and dispose agreement. This is just something Jamie drew up. We need to approve it and let that feller.
Make a motion to approve the bridge purchase and disposal agreement.
Second.
Been moved by Mark, seconded by Sean to approve the bridge purchase and dispose agreement with Norseman Field Service. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Dale? Mark?
Aye.
Sean? Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Jamie just stepped out for just a minute, if you wanna skip over that one.
Right.
If you wanna just go to the shredding, I can just give you.
Okay.
Central, or right now, we do our shredding through Minnesota. And Central Business System, the people that, we printers through, they started a shredding company too. And some of the banks around town have gone to them, so they're trying to, fill up their route. They will do, our one bin, right now through Minn Kota, it's $35, they'll do it for $30. Would you like me to switch?
I don't care.
I didn't know if I needed to bring it to you guys or just.
You get a certificate of destruction, right?
Hmm?
Every time they come and do that, you get a certificate of destruction, right? You should.
No, they take our bins and then we basically don't even know they're there.
We use DocuShred out of East Grand Forks. They drive up with their truck. The dumpster goes right up the side of the truck and they film the destruction. And then when they get done, they come in and give us a certificate of destruction.
Oh.
So that if any of that documentation ever hit the street, they would be liable for it. Because there's private information in that documentation or you wouldn't be shredding it.
Right.
Who shreds it now?
Minn Kota.
And they have another quote from another company. And I don't care who you hire to do that, but I think they should ask the banks if they get one. I mean, if the banks don't get a certificate of destruction, the FDIC come down on them like a ton of bricks.
Okay. Cause yeah, Minn Kota, they come with their trucks, they take our thing and up they go, and usually that's when I hear them and then I go running with my shredding bin, but yeah, I don't usually know if they came or not, or.
Yeah, they better give you a certificate of destruction or they're not doing their job.
Okay.
Okay? We have two little permission slips in here, if you want to call it that. Apparently the city has an ordinance that the neighbors have to approve if they grant a variance. And the Cooper House across the street, I think they called it. Mark and Lisa Martins have purchased that, and I just imagine you've all noticed how much cleanup they've done to the yard here lately, and they took the garage off. Anyway, they would like to do two things. Lisa would like to set her greenhouse up there for a couple months in the spring when it's greenhouse season, instead of renting the lot over by where Bank Forward their temporary building was. And they want to fix that thing up and kind of use it as a venue for wedding showers and, stuff like that. So it's zoned residential and it's kind of going to be commercial, and they want to know if we care as the neighbors. Is that about right, Sam?
Correct.
And I certainly don't think it's going to be a bad thing.
There's commercial property all around it, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, just about that whole block is commercial.
Yeah, I mean, why in the world would we stand in the path of somebody wanting to start a business for some silly zoning law that shouldn't be in place in the first place?
Is that a motion?
It is.
It's been moved by John that we sign both of these letters of support for Mark and Lisa to improve their property across the street from the courthouse.
Yep.
Second.
Wish
It's
them
been
luck in their venture.
seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Emergency management.
I have a few things for you guys. We got everything from Derek on Monday. He came and explained some things to us. As I said before, the MPG grant that we had previously gotten, I think up to 2018, pays for part or half of the administrative costs and salaries for the emergency manager. We're not getting that right now because the qualifications weren't met. And we're not eligible for it until 2021 because the application period was closed.
Right.
When we started, but I think Jennifer and I are going to try to get stuff taken care of and try to get back in good graces of DES so we can get that grant again.
So we're back in the Bob Hook era again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other grants that are available. One thing that Travis had commented on was that the sheriff's department had never paid for laptops as long as he's been involved in the IT for the county. And they've all been grant money paid. So I'm trying to figure out that, so we can try to get the laptops paid for next year, so we
That'd be good.
have to cover the cost.
The $18,000 cost that was in this year's budget, that'd be good.
There's some requirements that need to be done for 2021. One of them is the multi-hazard mitigation plan that's due, I think, in March. There's grants available for that. It's like a $20,000 plan to do updating, as far as I know, and there's grants available for that for us to
update it?
To update it, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
A little nest of grant writers in Jamestown.
That's who did it last time.
Yeah.
That was the original one. It was like 40,000, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was
What Derek told
50.
me,
50?
Yeah.
what Derek told me on Monday was that just to update it, which that doesn't seem like it's that complicated, just to have those guys do it, it's like $20,000. I'm not sure, I gotta do some more research and some asking around on that siren grant. I'm not sure that we don't have to fund some of that money next year. The siren grant is $1,500 radio, that covers radios, the first responder radios, county radios, that the road department uses. Nelson County is putting money away for it for next year. And I'm not involved with the emergency manager up there, so I don't know exactly. But that's something I need to look into and come to you guys with, because there might need to be some money spent on that for those radios. They're changing with the siren is a state interactive radio network, and it's dual band radios instead of the current radios that have been used. And they're changing the entire network. I'm not familiar enough with it to know and to tell you guys, but I'll have something for the next meeting, I hope. There's some other stuff that I haven't looked into enough, but there's gonna be some reports I'll probably be bringing you guys, so you guys have some information. But as far as those grants to pay for the things that we need to pay for, or that are coming out, those expenses, are you guys, I know you guys, when Bob was here, you guys didn't want Bob to apply for any of those grants without asking for permission. Are you guys okay with me looking into that stuff and applying for it so we can get some of that stuff paid for?
No, I'm fine with it.
I don't care.
Okay.
Evidently, the emergency manager we had wasn't quite up to
Didn't do the
speed
job.
yet. Imagine that.
I've also been in contact with Joe Lees. He's the Eastern Half Director for Emergency Management, and he's gonna work with us. And they're not gonna be tough on Griggs County because they know we're trying to get things on up and up. So he's willing to work with us. He's gonna come and visit with Jennifer and I in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna try to work things through. It's gonna take some time to get up to speed and get some stuff taken care of, but I hope to at least do a service to Griggs County. And
If Derek wasn't doing his job, why didn't the state make some noise?
It's fairly evident he wasn't, that's why he'd never come and talk to us,
Well-
and that's why he was, and that's why he quit, because when it got push came to shove, he figured out where to find this stuff.
So there's, to be honest with you guys, there's a minimum requirement, and that requirement isn't that much to do. But if there's,
That's what we asked him for, though.
but there, and some of that stuff wasn't done. There's reporting requirements, but there's other stuff that can be done, and I think the county, I think there's money that is available for the county to start upgrading some stuff, and I know you guys, I know it's all taxpayer money, but I think the emergency management position is important in the county, so when something does happen, it's not a shit show in the county. If something happens. There was another update, there was an oil spill over by Sutton the other day. It's 100 gallons, I don't know what the deal was, but we got a call and Burlington Northern turned it in. Sounds like it was right at Sutton. Burlington Northern called it in to the state emergency manager, and they had a cleanup crew come out and clean it up. So with the railroad tracks going through with oil cars, I think that's the biggest thing to be concerned about in the county, but I think that the citizens deserve a plan and something developed in case something does happen in the county.
But I mean, the state never informed us before when we were getting, we weren't getting anything done, and that was just digging around when I found out, talking to them. No, they don't.
Well, their form of discipline is to withhold the grant money, which they did.
But didn't tell us. Well, maybe they never told us. We were under the assumption that we were getting, every time we budget out, we were under the assumption that we were getting the grant money until we started trying to balance things and we weren't getting the grant money. And now and same thing here.
What Derek told me was that for the cost that was gonna cost the county, it wasn't worth trying to get the grant for that reimbursement. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure what it's gonna take for time, what it's gonna take, what we get for money out of it, I don't know, but we're gonna try to do the right thing and try to get it taken care of.
Well, if you come to that conclusion, then there's no point in going for it. Right?
Right, but I don't know what it's gonna entail from us for work to do it.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Old courthouse, new courthouse, anything?
I did get in touch with NDSU.
The people that are gonna do it have a PhD and they want more money.
She was planning on coming to look at the building last week. I never heard from her after this, so I don't know if she ever did. I told her to let me know which day, and I would have, Brian let her in. And I didn't hear from her. And then she said, so that she could write up a contract for us, she would need to see the building first.
Sure.
So just kind of waiting on her to come in, basically.
Okay. Future business? Hopefully we can talk about, well, maybe we don't need to. County Road 8, Foster County Water Board met, and they're gonna pay for this preliminary engineering study. And David Utke called me. He said they were gonna talk about it at their next meeting, and then he was gonna give me a call. That's all I know.
I went and drove on it yesterday, and when we built it up, and that hard rain where it got 5 inches, it put some little troughs in there, but it's solid and hard, and we put some riprap, some smaller riprap, because the waves were taking some of the dirt away. I know big rocks, but it isn't perfect, but it's passable, and it's just as passable as the pavement is.
Okay.
And it doesn't appear to be getting any deeper, the water, if anything, even with that 5 inches of rain out there. So, we're not in a panic situation.
Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
It's been moved by Mark that we adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Dale. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next meeting will be, meeting adjourned at
Thank you.
5:45 PM. Next regular meeting will be July 24th at 2:30 PM in the next room over.